It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022. Folks, 3 years in a row. Without a doubt, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media. Without a doubt, also the people's choice and the people's voice. Yes, it's me, Fernando, Uribe. Hoping you all having a wonderful, obviously, start to March, folks. Special shout out to my dad. Happy birthday to Fernando Uribe Sr. Of course, the reason you're blessed with me every single week is due to him and my mom. So you can always give thanks to him. And of course, happy birthday to Fernando Sr. today. I won't disclose the amount of years, but he is wiser beyond his years, to say the very least, folks. And I want to thank you all for joining in from wherever and however you may be doing so, here on Jersey First TV via StreamYard on Facebook Live, and of course also on the Jersey First YouTube page. Sharing is caring, ladies and gentlemen. Always remember to like all of our social media. Make sure that you, again, click like on Facebook, and of course, follow Jersey First on both Instagram and Twitter. You can check out my own Instagram and Twitter. It's the same handle. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Jersey First YouTube page, and wherever you get your podcast, whether it's SoundCloud or Spotify, download it from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet, and take Jersey First with you wherever you go, whether you're walking your dog, getting that run in, maybe you're prepping for a 5K, whatever it is, folks. Hey, it's the best programming you'll see online every single week, and it's always brought to you by Jersey First. I cannot say enough about my amazing tag team partners with Jersey First TV. Of course, Elizabeth Nader, the host of the Nader Narrative. New episodes air every Thursday, as well as Bridging the Gap with Millennial Superstars, AJ Malilo and Steven Rombolo. Again, new episodes air on Thursdays for both Bridging the Gap and, of course, the Nader Narrative. Folks, I can't say really how grateful I am to all of you that tune in every single week here on Jersey First. Of course, the reason that the traffic is so great on this program is due to all of you who make it a point to tune in live every Monday night at 6 p.m. and also by sharing the replays, because remember, folks, sharing is caring. You do want to stay tuned, folks, for the end of the show. I'm going to have a little response to Jay Lasseter. It seems like Jay Lasseter wants to think he's cute online. I'm going to check him like I always do on this program. So you definitely want to stick around for that roast, because it's a good one, as it always is, concerning New Jersey's, clown, really, journalist Jay Lasseter from Insider NJ. But folks, of course, it's election season. And of course, this is a cycle where Republicans have a chance to get some ground in Central and South Jersey, in some legislative districts, of course, shave into that lead that Democrats have in the legislature. In the Assembly, it's 46-34. In the state Senate, it's 24-16. And you know what? When candidates go out to campaign, even before they start knocking on doors, they got to assemble a team. And normally, what I hope they're doing is trying to assemble the best operatives and the best strategists that they possibly can. And folks, you know what? Tonight, let's pick the brain of one of New Jersey's better strategists, of course, my good friend, and of course, a diehard member of Cowboys Nation. My good, let me have a little tea there for my Cowboys. I'm looking forward to the upcoming season, obviously, as the Eagles decline right before our very eyes. But folks, she's an amazing strategist, fellow member of Cowboy Nation. The great Jeanette Hoffman joins us here on Real Talk. Jeanette,
hey, Fernando. How's it going?
It's great. Give my best to Josh and the kids. I know that I might be Josh's favorite conservative, aside from you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in the top 5, maybe, I don't know, somewhere. He may not say that.
Second.
Yeah, probably second or third or fourth, who knows. But Jeanette, it's great to have you on here. I know you're always so gracious to come on the show and really have a good conversation about not just this election cycle, but quite frankly, I think what Republicans can do better. And I know that's part of your job, certainly. And we'll get to that. But folks, for all of you at home that maybe aren't familiar with what a strategist does, and of course, Jeanette specializes, again, I'm going by Marathon Public Affairs. You can contact them at 908-418-0859, really for a variety of different issues or needs that you may have. Now, certainly, Jeanette specializes in strategic messaging, crisis communications, and public affairs campaigns. An experienced government relations professional and statewide media spokesperson, Jeanette enjoys strong relations with elected officials and key decision makers on both sides of the aisle in New Jersey and beyond. She has over 20 years experience in issues involving advocacy, politics, policy, and state government. An impressive resume, Jeanette, but for everyone sort of thinking at home, hey, is public relations and being a strategist, is that for me? What was your epiphany about getting into this business?
Well, I love it. I've been doing this since, gosh, for over 20 years. So, since I was 10 years old. No, just kidding. But since I was in college, I interned for Governor Christie Whitman, New Jersey's first female and only female governors. All the woke Democrats like to say that they're the party of women, but Republicans truly are, because we've only had the only female governor in New Jersey. So I worked at the College of New Jersey, my alma mater. I worked in Governor Whitman's office. They hired me as an intern, kept me on full time. And I just love politics. I love being around it. I love to hear what people in the communities care about and how government affects them and impacts them. Most of the time, government's in their way, right, Fernando, as we know.
Oh, I mean, it's they're not just in the way. It's like a roadblock of like steel reinforced concrete in New Jersey, really, in Trenton.
Or taxes. That's, a noose hanging around their neck. So that's where I got my start. My first job, I loved being around campaigns and in the campaign world, and loved the world of political messaging and how we as Republicans need to do a better job of getting our message across about how we are the true party of opportunities and better jobs, better schools for our kids. The American dream truly lies within the message of the Republican Party. So that's what I've been doing all my career, basically, is messaging, is helping to lift up policies, promote a better economy for not only candidates but causes. And I couldn't think of anything I'd rather be doing.
So let's get into that. Let's get into sort of what's, I think, the most pressing right now during this election cycle. And we talked off the air briefly. I mean, Republicans have a real chance this election cycle, and probably in 2025 as well, to shave into the majorities that Democrats have had for over 20 years. Now, let me preface this by saying, because I know Josh is listening, Josh is pretty much going to be like, oh, here goes Fernando. Listen, not all Democrats are bad. I think that, just like not all Republicans are bad, for many of my friends on the left, whether it's in academia or in journalism, I think there's a select few that really, I think, muddy the waters. Case in point, where I live in Hudson County in the 33rd legislative district, like my mayor is also my state senator. And Senator Stack is not a woke Democrat. He's sort of a middle ground, center-left, working-class, blue-collar Democrat. Like, he represents his district with transparency, works hard, because, again, it's a district that doesn't acquiesce to all the woke nonsense. Like, listen, I'm sure Josh as well, like, we all passed high school biology when we took it, right? I would think so. But it seems like many of my friends on the left either failed the subject, they never took an economics course, they never took a policy course, and they never took a government course. And it shows by what they espouse in Trenton. Now, again, the problem is that for great legislators like mine in my district, he's overwhelmed by the far left in Trenton that believe they spend it responsibly. We have the highest property taxes in the country. I mean, I'm looking at here at $9,240 is the average.
That's just the average.
That's just the average. Like, for example, if I just drive 5 minutes north of me towards the George Washington Bridge in Bergen County, okay, we're talking about homes and properties at $13,000, $14,000. If I drive south into Union County, for example, Short Hills, we're talking about $20K, if not more. So it seems like the far left Democrats talk about, well, we're the party for working people. How? You're driving working people out of the state of New Jersey.
Absolutely. And, if you look at their budgets year after year, Democrats just continue to spend and spend and spend. Since Governor Murphy has taken office 5 years ago, the state budget has grown by 50%. What do we have to show for it, Fernando? Has your life changed? Has your taxes gone down?
Listen,
Is New Jersey more affordable for you?
I'm going to tell you right now, this budget in New Jersey keeps getting fatter than the newest Victoria's Secret models. Okay, that's how it's getting. Okay,
So bad.
It's true though. But what bothers me though is the notion that the far left, I think, has hijacked the party. And case in point, it seems like every budget now since Murphy's taken over, we allocate taxpayer dollars, for example, to create a legal fund. And this is true, folks. This is not Fernando Uribe gaslighting or dog whistling. This is fact. You can find it in the budget. It's itemized there. State dollars are taken to create a legal fund to provide legal representation for illegals fighting deportation. If that's not just a microcosm, Jeanette, of how like just detached from reality the emperor is, and let's be honest, Steve Sweeney, when he was Senate president, and Craig Coughlin keep rubber stamping the emperor. They keep guessing him to death. They keep saying, "Yeah, this is fine. Let's keep making these budgets fatter than a kid in a bakery." Okay, it's madness. And unfortunately, and I really want to get your thoughts on this. Unfortunately, the liberal media in New Jersey does us, like homeowners and taxpayers, no favors by never holding them to account. I don't want to hear these garbage news sites like NJ Spotlight News, Insider NJ, and all these others that claim that they're reporting. What are you reporting on? How many New Jerseyans are leaving? You should be.
Well, I mean, I have to say it has been reported that our property taxes have reached the highest levels ever. An average, as you said, is $9,000. So they are reporting on that. The spending is out of control. But then at the same time, Fernando, we have a $10 billion surplus. What are we doing with that? Why are we giving it back to the taxpayers who need it? I just don't understand that. And in school districts where I live in Monmouth County, our school aid funding is being cut.
Yeah.
Am I being punished because I live in a Republican district? When you cut my town school aid, guess who has to pay for it? I do, and higher property taxes. So that's a property tax hike. Not only is the governor, cutting my school aid, he's raising my property taxes. Oh, and by the way, me and my neighbors, we're not getting any of that phony anchor rebate. So, it's really disingenuous. On one hand, they're increasing spending, by 50% over 5 years, which is not sustainable. Then we have this $10 billion surplus doing who knows what. But my taxes are going up. So, it's really frustrating. And this is how Republicans can win back those seats in the legislature. And this is why 2 years ago, Republicans took back 7 seats in the state legislature with a bad redistricting map. May I remind you, we have a good redistricting map this year. So I'm hoping we can capitalize on this because, it's time for these legislative leaders to go. Like you said, they are just a rubber stamp on Governor Murphy.
Yeah. And folks, if you're just joining us right now, it's 6:11 here on the East Coast on Facebook Live via StreamYard and also on the Jersey First YouTube page. My guest this week is Republican strategist Jeanette Hoffman. Join us here on Real Talk. And Jeanette, it's interesting because there are a lot of old legislators in Central and South Jersey that need to go. I interviewed some candidates in Mercer County, and I don't remember what her name was, but I believe she was the state senator that was integral in implementing the plastic bag ban. We need this woman. This woman's been in office over 20 years. Let's send this woman packing. She should join Loretta Weinberg somewhere at an arts and crafts show and be rid of her. Like, it's that sort of myopic policymaking that hurts working class people. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, whatever. It's like the plastic bag ban. That is madness. I can go to Walmart tomorrow, and if I forget a bag, I'll just go to produce, Jeanette, and get
just give her this little flimsy bag.
But that's how myopic, and I forget what her name is. I mean, I'd love to get rid of her. She's in Mercer. I think I forgot what district.
Yeah, that's the 14th legislative district. I think you're referring to Senator Greenstein. I think.
Oh, please send this woman packing. Send her with Loretta Weinberg to an island somewhere.
Well, the good news is that district's gotten better for Republicans. Yeah, I mean, that used to be a swing district. Bill Baroni was the senator, the assemblyman from there, I think. So that, Republicans did have seats in that district, and I think it's gotten better. So fingers crossed.
Right. No, you're right about that. Again, up here where I live in LD 31, 32, 33, it's as blue as Windex. So realistically, Republicans
you don't even have primaries there. The Hudson County leaders just tell you who your candidate is going to be.
Yeah, it's as blue as Windex. But in Central and South Jersey, Republicans have an outstanding opportunity to shave into that majority that Democrats have. But it just seems like, and here's something that's going to get me in a little bit of hot water. I don't care because I'm not auditioning for a job. But one of the reasons that I had zero faith this past weekend at the NJGOP summit leadership, whatever it was, in Atlantic City, is it just seems like the NJGOP isn't serious about really getting a better message out. Jeanette, you said it perfectly before. We know what Democrats, the far left, woke Democrats, do poorly in New Jersey. We know what they do wrong. The problem is that the messaging has to improve. We know that they're wrong on taxes. They're forcing New Jerseyans to move into Delaware, the Carolinas, the great state of Florida with a very competent governor like Ron DeSantis, or Texas with Greg Abbott. It just seems like they're just content on keeping certain seats and not working hard. Case in point, 2 years ago, Glenn Youngkin in Virginia actually energized Republicans to come out and vote. 6 out of every 10 Republicans came out to vote and that's why he became governor. Jack, and I like Jack personally, so I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, Fernando's trashing." I'm not trashing Jack. I like Jack personally. I just think the leadership at the NJGOP steered him wrong. Yeah, he only lost by 3 points, but it's because, again, they didn't energize Republicans. 35%, Jeanette, 35% of registered Republicans came out to vote in 21. If that's even 10% more, we're talking about Governor Chitterelli and not the emperor. It's madness to me.
Listen, I love Jack Chitterelli, and I'm not going to say a bad word about him.
So do
I think he did run a good campaign, but and I'm not one to Monday morning quarterback anything, but just traditionally what Democrats do better as a party than Republicans is they just got the mechanics better about getting their people out to vote, getting them to vote early, and registering more people to their party than we do. We're just not good at that functional aspect of party building. But I think we're getting better. And we did, for the first year, we registered more Republicans to our party, new party members than the Democrats did. So I'm enthused about that.
No, and another thing too, I think that we have to embrace, because it's not going anywhere, especially in New Jersey, and I think even nationally, we have to embrace vote by mail. Again, we have to be better at it. We have to
Democrats, they have it down to a science. And
they're ruthless. They're like that guy during last call in a bar, looking around to see if there's that one last girl to hook up with. They're really good at that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are so efficient at what is known now, obviously now, as vote by mail. It's not going anywhere. Listen, I like to vote in person, and I understand that a lot of us do, but early voting has become beneficial. Listen, if you want to fix the problem, Jenna, let's be honest. Again, as a political scientist and academic, make Election Day a holiday. I mean, that's one good step, I would argue, in fixing the problem. It doesn't seem like either party doesn't seem too interested in sort of pushing for that as, let's say, a state initiative or referendum, but more on that later. It just seems like Republicans are really slow to the dance when it comes to vote by mail. It's not going anywhere.
No, it is not going anywhere. We just got to get better at it. And I know culturally Republicans like to vote in person. They'd like to see the vote count. And I get that. And I'm kind of one of those people too. But I vote early and I go to the polls early and I do that. But we have to get this vote by mail down to the science like the Democrats do. Just as a party, as party operatives, we need to be better at it. And we need to get more young people. I'm sorry. We need to get more young and diverse people, more women. I think we're doing better at women because, I mean, we have more women in the Republican Assembly caucus ever in history. So I think that is fantastic. I think we're doing a great job there. But let's get the young people on board too.
Speaking of young people, and it's another dynamic I think that doesn't get talked about enough. And I know, again, I always go after the liberal media in New Jersey because they're just not doing their jobs. But last year, it really, so many school board races, Jeanette, were just spearheaded by parents. It's not like they're crazy right wingers. No, they're concerned parents that don't want their kids. Listen, just like we enjoy Women's History Month, obviously, congrats, happy Women's History Month to you and all the ladies out there. My mom, all you hardworking women that make our lives better. Just like Black History Month, Hispanic, like, I get it. Gay people, LGBT people exist. My problem is not learning about LGBT history, whether it's Harvey Milk or other prominent LGBT figures, whether it be politics, business, education. That's not my issue. My issue is that far left Democrats and the woke crowd see nothing wrong, Jeanette, with overly sexualizing of our children, materials, and curriculum. And let's be honest, the NJEA is about as useless as a $3 bill in anything credible when it comes to this. And why, again, I get they get votes, they mobilize for Democrats, the leadership and all that stuff. But I'm not, again, when I'm opposed to curriculum, it's not because I'm against gay people. That's how I'm being paid. That's not true. What I'm against is 5-6-year-olds being exposed to overly sexual material. Jeanette,
absolutely.
I don't have any kids that I know of, but if I did, I'd be livid if I was a parent.
And that's another reason why you saw the turnout like you did of independents voting for Republican candidates, because it was just common sense. I mean, it's just the things that the curriculum ideas that they were talking about for 5- and 6-year-olds, talking about, well, you may be a he, but not feel like a he, so you can be a she. For 5- and 6-year-olds, that's totally confusing and wrong. I'm sorry. I don't care. Listen, I believe in equality. I believe in a lot of things. And, at my household, we talk about a lot of different things, but that's my household. That's what I want to talk about to my kids. Sure. It's not the school's decision to talk about that to 5- and 6-year-olds, right? It's not the school's decision to talk about hormone blocking drugs. to middle school kids. Okay.
Yeah.
That is totally inappropriate. And it just comes back to common sense and normalcy. So I think there are like we, captured a lot of mainstream independents, Democrats, some too, content moms who are just fed up with this woke stuff. And it was, people are like, oh, it's just Republicans, trying to fearmonger. No, we saw the lesson plans. We saw the draft curriculum. It was right there in black and white. Yeah. And the fact that they tried to slide this in during a state board of education meeting during COVID lockdown, so no one can see it in secrecy, is really shameful.
No, it really is. And again, it goes back to the notion that whether it's, listen, I work in academia. So, I mean, obviously I'm dealing with college kids, and when you prepare a syllabi, it's adults. But we know, Jeanette, that in school districts, far left-leaning school districts, whether it's the People's Republic of Montclair, right, we all know it's famous for, or other school districts, like teachers oftentimes have a lot of autonomy with their lesson plans. And if it's a far left-leaning district, superintendents, administrators, principals are going to give a lot of leeway to teachers. And guess what? You give a teacher that's very left-leaning, woke, that thinks there's 35 genders, that doesn't understand science for whatever reason, you give them just a little bit of an opening, they're going to take it. And you know who the casualty is? Our kids. And that's wrong.
Yeah. And, listen, every school board should have those lessons plans available to the parents before school starts. And if you want your kids to learn about whatever, let them opt in. It shouldn't be an opt out. It should be an opt in. So, I think there's a lot of frustration, and accordingly, there was a lot of outrage over that, Fernando. And I think the pendulum is swinging back from craziness over COVID, over lockdowns, over people just want normalcy. They don't want this crazy high inflation. They don't want COVID restrictions on their businesses. They don't want lockdowns. They don't want crazy woke gender sex ed things being forced down their kids' throat. They just want to go back to normal and live their lives and take their vacations and run a successful business. I mean, I think that's what any average voter wants to get back to.
Speaking of average, and folks, again, it's 6:20 here on the East Coast. Joining me live here is Republican strategist, the renowned Jeanette Hoffman, joins us here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Jeanette, here's an interesting dynamic, and I get a lot of grief from my family over the years. And I look at you and Josh as one of the more power couples politically in New Jersey, and you're very different. And one of the things that's always funny in my household with my family, parents, or whoever, are like, Fernando, you're so dictatorial, especially over the years with women you date. Like, you gotta like my teams, and you have to kind of like my politics. And if it's not gonna happen, like, it's gonna be a problem. And my parents think, oh my God, you're so ruthless, you're so tyrannical. I'm like, listen, I don't care if your great-grandfather played offensive tackle for the Steelers. You're rooting for the Cowboys, okay? You're rooting for the Cowboys. You're rooting for the Devils. You're rooting for the Yankees. You're rooting for Rutgers basketball. And I may not be as harsh when it comes to my politics, but I dated like socialists, liberals. Like, I'll share this funny story. I remember in the summer of 2016, I made a point just to go on Bernie singles, just to date those far left progressives, because I'm a guy, I knew that, well, it was going to be easy. I'll leave it at that. So dating those hippies and all those Bernie singles, to me, it was like a social experiment.
I'm sure.
But I'll be honest with you. I've dated conservatives. I've dated middle of the road moderates, ultra right wingers. I've dated ultra left wingers, some, left leaning liberals. I got to tell you, I look at you and Josh as a model example of a couple that at some point, you're never going to disclose this. At some point, somebody has, paid rent at the couch and slept on the couch, maybe one time too often. I'm not going to force you to tell you who's who, but it just seems like it's so commendable because politics is so polarizing and tribal. You guys have been married for some time. You have beautiful children, a wonderful family. But how does that work when the emperor does something stupid, which is regularly, or Joe Biden gets up from his nap at 2 p.m. and just passes bad policies? Like, how do you and Josh reconcile a staunch Democrat and a staunch Republican? It's what you do for a living, but how do you, again, come to the middle?
Well, so there's times when it's easy to come to the middle because either his side is doing something so crazy and stupid that I'm like, you can't get behind this. And he's like, yeah, you're right, I can't. Or my side is doing something so crazy and stupid that I can't get behind it, right? So like when it's one side or the other is at the extremes, and we're both like, well, that's dumb, right? So that's when it's easy to find middle ground. And then sometimes it's not easy, right? Like we just have that difference of opinion, and we're going to be like, okay, we're just going to disagree. Like that's just it. We're never going to agree on this one. But I think it would be more difficult for me, Fernando, to be with someone who didn't care, right? At least I know Josh cares, and we both want to make our state and our country a better place. We just have different ideas on how to get there.
Sure.
So I think apathy would be worse, to be married to somebody who has no idea what's going on, doesn't watch the news, doesn't follow politics. I think that would be more difficult to tolerate.
So, I mean, I've seen your great family photos. I mean, there's a little bit of, I think, of a difference in ages. I think you have some older children, right? Maybe like teenagers, right? Mm-hmm. So how does that work? I mean, again, they're getting older. They're reading, whether they're hearing stuff at school, depends on their teachers, or on social media, unfortunately. Like, how do you and Josh compensate for the fact that whether, do you have to sit them down and talk to them about what they hear in school, or if they see stuff on social media about politics and, wokeness and whatever? I mean, again, there's just tribalism in politics. Social media amplifies that almost on steroids. How do you and Josh as parents have that conversation that maybe at times is uncomfortable?
They're really good kids, and it's funny how they form their own opinions, and we talk to them about it. But they got good heads on their shoulders. I mean, there's nothing. Social media is, God. You know what? I'm just gonna say I'm glad that you and I didn't have Facebook and things like that when we were teenagers, and Instagram and Snapchat and all those crazy things when we were in like middle school and high school, because I think the world was a better place back then for teenagers growing up. But, I think they're pretty level-headed. And, the one thing we tell them about the news is like, you get the, like, just the headlines, like the CNN news alerts sent to your phone. You can't just read that, like, right? That's not the whole story. You got to actually like click and read the whole actual story. So I think that's like the difference in like the generations is like, no one's reading full articles. They're reading a tweet or they're reading a headline. So, we kind of push them to, okay, well, you read the soundbite. Now let's like get to the whole story.
Well, I would just say, listen, just recommend that they listen to who's been referred to as the Cuban Tucker right here on TV. You know what I'm saying? Just tell them to tune in every Monday night. They'll be in good hands with me. But
you're the media hero everyone needs right now.
I Jeanette Hoffman, folks, she's wonderful, isn't she? She says it perfectly. Jeanette, before I let you go, though, real quick here, again, it is an election cycle. Are you working any campaigns that you can disclose of presently, or is that something that's sort of like private?
Not for candidates. Like, I right now I'm more working on causes and issues and companies and things like that.
Okay. Now, again, during this election cycle, getting that strategist, that operative that understands the tea leaves, that understands the cycle, understands New Jersey. It's not an overly blue state per se. There are pockets of it. Just like there are pockets that are red. When you have been approached for campaigns, how does that interview go? I mean, how does that sit down go with a potential candidate when they ask you, hey, Jeanette, I've been reading your work. You're very good. I want to hire you. Like, is it one of those, like, you sort of look at a checklist and have a sit down and thorough interview with potential candidates before you decide to take on a client?
To be honest with you, I've worked on a lot of issue advocacy campaigns and kind of behind the scenes, PAC things and other things like that. I haven't worked for specific candidates in quite a long time, because I've been on kind of the other side of it, pushing issues. But it's New Jersey is challenging, but I would say never give up on New Jersey. There are places that are very winnable. I think that I would never give up on the state as a whole, as a gubernatorial state. I'm very excited about what's going to happen in a couple of years in our next gubernatorial election. I think it's going to be a very crowded primary. We'll see who's going to run. I have some thoughts about that. But listen, it's everything is about messaging. It's about getting your people out to vote. It's about looking at those numbers and knowing where the votes are going to come from. And it's about the quality of the candidate themselves, right? I mean, I think candidate selection is going to play a very important part in those legislative races coming up this year.
Let's talk about 2025 real quick. This is my guess. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm right. I think on the Republican side, I think it comes down to, at least in my opinion, it comes down to Jack Chiarelli, once again, the former candidate. I would argue Bill Spadea, the NJ 101.5 FM. And here's my dark horse, who I think if he jumps in, makes it a very interesting race. That's State Senator Michael Testa. Those are my three on the Republican side right now. And on the Democratic side, I'm just afraid that because, again, vote by mail, Democrats have become so good at it, the registrations and everything. I just think it's going to be Ross Baraka, Josh Gottheimer, Mikey Sherrill, to some extent Steve Fulop. Again, unless Republicans really, really win over independents, though, Jeanette, Republicans aren't going to win the gubernatorial election for quite some time. That's what I'm nervous about. But I do like at least who I'm calling out right now, my three on that side. And on the Democratic side, that's who I'm predicting right now. Or am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I mean, that taps my list too. The Jack's already said he's running, right? I mean, he said that in his concession speech last year. So it's Jack, it's Spadea, who's everywhere right now with his Common Sense Club. And I think Testa possibly throws his hat in the ring. John Bramnick has said, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Last time he said, maybe I won't. So we'll see about that. And then on the Democratic side, I think Josh Gottheimer leads off with it. I think it's
correct. Correct. I've been
he
saying
is a prodigious fundraiser.
I've been for personally, we spoke at the league a little bit. We've texted each other. I mean, he's in School of Politics, is able to gather support quick. I think Mikey Sherrill is another dangerous candidate in the sense she can fundraise as well. I think Ross Baraka, the mayor of New Jersey's largest city. Listen, if Carl DiVincenzo jumps on board and so does Leroy Jones, I would argue that Ross Baraka becomes the runaway favorite on the Democratic side. But flipping back to the Republican side real quick, it seems like Bill Spadea, you're right, Bill, and I know Bill personally, he's been on this show. I look forward to having him on again. He's a gentleman with me. I consider him a friend. A lot of people don't think Bill can win statewide, though, Jeanette, but I would argue that he's making a lot of coalitions, and I think that Bill can win over some independents, or maybe the other two can. Again, I'm not throwing shade at Jack or Mike. I like them both. They're friends of mine. They come on this show. But can Bill Spadea, who seems to be, in the eyes of some, especially in the establishment, a dark horse, could he win the nomination?
Of course he could. Yeah. I mean, listen, I would not count him out. The thing about Bill is he is very charismatic. I mean, he's just on the radio, and I used to be on TV with him. He's such a charming personality and smart, and he's got this everyman quality that he relates to average voters, average people. And so not only do I think he could, and he has very strong conservative principles. So not only do I think he could win and he's got a following too, right, on the radio. So not only do I think he could win the primary, I think he could win the general too. And Democrats count him out because they think he's way too conservative. All these things he said about COVID, all the things he said about that, but they count him out to their peril because I think once the average voter starts hearing him and starts talking to him, the COVID will be years gone by then, and some of the other things, because I think they're going to want to hear from somebody who's not a regular politician.
Fair enough. Jeanette, before I let you go, obviously I know you're working on advocacy issues and causes, but if the NJGOP comes knocking on the door this year or in 25, what would you tell them what's the message? What would you say as a strategist for the NJGOP in 23 and in 25?
Well, I tell them New Jersey's had enough. They've had enough of these Democratic policies that are costing them more. They're failed policies. Governor Murphy has failed to run the state, and the Democrats have just given him a free pass, and people can't afford to live here anymore. So it's time to say enough. It's time to get back to common sense policies, affordable policies, better jobs, better opportunities, and better economy.
Fair enough. Jeanette, before I let you go, a little humor here. Wasn't it wonderful seeing the Eagles lose the Super Bowl? Oh, bless my heart. I was so excited. Eagle fans were so annoying and insufferable. What else is new? And they were so cocky. Oh, we're gonna win. Mind you, Philly sports teams have sucked lately. The Flyers haven't done anything. The Phillies lost in the World Series. The MLS team lost in the finals. It was glorious to see the Eagles lose the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Well, you know why they deserved it, Fernando? Who boos the man of the year? Like, what kind of fans boo Dak Prescott for being the man of the year? Like, that just shows the quality of those fans.
Well, I mean, listen,
I'm sorry.
We all know Philly sports fans are classless. The city is classless. I need a tetanus shot every time I go to the Cowboy Eagle game and I drive back. Like, the first thing I need to do is I need to hit an urgent care. Is there a 24-hour urgent care anywhere? Like, can I get a tetanus shot? Because I was in Philadelphia city limits, and, either you lose brain cells or you might be prone to, I don't know, some infectious disease. I don't know, being there. Who knows?
I'm glad you made it out of there alive.
Yeah, I always do every year, but it was glorious to see those losers come up short in the Super Bowl for sure. Jeanette, before I let you go, I always love our conversations. You're always great. I appreciate how gracious you are to come on here and have a great conversation because you care about New Jersey like I do. We're homeowners, we're taxpayers, we care. And I think that we both express it in a way that's constructive, that's helpful, and most importantly, influential. So I want to thank you for always believing in my programming and my media brand and coming on here. I'll give you the last word tonight.
Thanks for having me, Fernando. I love this show. It's always so much fun. It's always lively and engaging. And I love Jersey First TV, and I love what Jersey First is doing around the state, just, getting their message out and letting people know that there's a better way to do this and that the economy is important and making New Jersey affordable for future generations is really a priority.
Folks, she is Jeanette Hoffman, Republican strategist and a diehard devoted member of Cowboys Nation. I'm telling you, I'm always happy to have her. And Jeanette, I'll text you tomorrow because you know what? I kind of want to harass Josh for like an hour on the program. So I want to get him on and pick his brain as well. So we'll talk off the air. But Jeanette, God bless you. Have a happy Easter. My best to Josh and your family. Keep up the great work. And once again, thank you for your support of Jersey First TV.
Thanks, Fernando. Take care.
Have a good night. Take care. Folks, great episode there with Jeanette Hoffman. Obviously, an amazing strategist, and not just about campaigns, but about causes and advocacy. Again, folks, you can check out everything involving Jeanette Hoffman and Marathon Public Affairs. You can reach the office at 908-418-0859. Once again, it's 908-418-0859. They're located at 458 Sycamore Avenue in Shrewsbury, New Jersey. And again, folks, check her out on LinkedIn and also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well. Jeanette Hoffman, an amazing strategist here. Join us on Jersey First TV. Folks, before I call it a night here, I like to make some observations. So let me finish with one right now. And certainly, again, great to have Jeanette Hoffman on here, one of the better Republican strategists, one of the better strategists in general. Forget about party, but one of the better women. So during Women's History Month, I love to have outstanding women like Jeanette Hoffman on the program to talk about politics, to talk about advocacy, to talk about things that affect New Jersey residents. So again, during this month, it's great to have amazing women like Jeanette Hoffman. And again, since it is Women's History Month, I figure let me talk about, one of the women I know in New Jersey politics. Yes, it's Jay Lassiter. So again, as we continue with Women's History Month, again, let me keep the conversation going here. And it seems like Jay thinks he's cute. And again, if you look at his insufferable newsfeed and you look at Twitter, you look at one of the captions he gives himself as being the court jester of New Jersey politics. No, Jay, that would infer that you're funny because that's what a court jester is. You're actually not funny. But it's interesting because it seems like Jay must have taken some exception to my dissection of his just asinine tweet, which, I mean, let's be honest, that's almost every tweet of his, right? That I dissected last week where, again, I'm not going to go into it. You can watch the episode. Great traffic as always. And apparently he must have taken some exception to it, right? Where I pretty much refuted every single thing he put out there, right? And it's interesting because, apparently, I guess a couple of days later after, maybe I'm assuming he watched the episode, right? Because he can't help himself, just like many of my other haters, right? He seemed to maybe thought he was being cute, right? By going on Twitter and, of course, including me in some, as you can see there, right? Adding me to the list, which is the small, blank energy. I guess that's something that Jay maybe is interested in. Now, again, Jay, I understand your fixation with male genitalia. I mean, that's well documented. I get it. All right. And maybe you're curious about mine, but bro, just to quote Jonah Hill in The Wolf of Wall Street, bro, you're not the one for me. Like, I hate to break it to you. And I understand a handsome man like this, not interested in you is probably something that's the norm for you. But yeah, man, like whatever fixation or whatever interest you have in whatever my size is, I mean, that's, again, bro, you're not the one for me. Really, quite frankly, lately, I'm more into like nice blonde Italian women. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not even Latinas, right? Like, mostly Latinas, they're toxic, they're insufferable, they're overly hysterical, right? I mean, you should know you're best friends with one, right? So regardless of that, yeah, Jay, like that's not really my thing. And I get it, normally other people will feel flattered, but yeah, it's a little creepy, dude. Like whatever fixation or curiosity you have about, like whatever my size is, like that's, bro, I don't know. It's kind of weird, and like just seeing that, I had to laugh because all you did was basically give me new followers on my Twitter feed. So if you thought it was going to backfire or bring backlash on me, actually it was the opposite. It actually got me more followers and more engagement. But again, folks, are you surprised about Jay being intellectually bankrupt or intellectually inefficient? Of course not. So again, Jay, I appreciate your fixation on that, right? But what's interesting to me, though, and this is what's, I guess, the sadder dynamic about Jay Lassiter is, Jay, what I find really funny is you taking the time to do something like this. And again, I'm all about humor. I'm not uptight or anything like that. But, have a little more awareness. And again, I sort of blame the management at Insider Range, Jay, Pete O'Nelia, who's just, I don't know, whoring himself out for money and advertising dollars, just like the Graham family is, right? Along with, their editor-in-chief, Max Pizarro, because it seems like that's all they're interested in, right? Is whoring themselves out for advertising, whether it's NJEA, Planned Parenthood, the Latino Action Network. It's not like they're really interested in doing any real news. But more so, I think what they should be doing, right, as management, is having a sit down and maybe having an intervention with Jay Lassiter, because Jay represents Insider and Jay. And you know what, Jay, again, what I find, it's not even so much funny. What I find is pathetic is that a 70-something-year-old man feels the need. Again, you can take shots at me with these little funny antics. That's all well and good. But what you should be more concerned about is the fact that you're a man in his mid to late 70s going on social media, right? And smoking weed, like almost like as if your parents or something, I don't know, like left the house for the weekend and you're home alone. Oh my God, I get to smoke weed. Jay, you're a man in your mid 70s. Like you're not in your 20s anymore. Okay. You're not in your 20s. The idea of glorifying smoking, like, bro, you're not a kid anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's embarrassing. Like, why isn't anybody an Insider and Jay having an intervention saying, hey, Jay, you're a grown ass man. You're in your mid to late 70s. Like, start acting like one. Stop putting out content on social media that embarrasses not only yourself, but us, because it's a reflection on us. Like, really? Like, I'm just baffled, Jay. Like, you're a grown ass man. You should know better. You know what I'm saying? Like, once again, you're a man in your mid to late 70s. Okay? I mean, my softball glove in my car looks in better shape than you do. Have a little more awareness, Jay. And again, it's embarrassing because to me, it's like, wait a second. Like, did Jay think that maybe being cute on Twitter was going to get him, I don't know what, some engagement or something? Got me engagement, got me more followers, right? So, but again, this is the type of intellectual ineptitude we're used to when it comes to Jay Lassiter. And again, folks, I've laid out the challenge all the time. Jay, if you want to come on this show and debate me and tell me where I'm wrong when I dissect all of the horrible garbage you put out there, come on the show. Again, challenge is there. I'll give you 60 minutes, all right, commercial free, to come on this show and debate me and tell me where I'm wrong. But folks, you know what the thing is though? And here's the kicker, here's the spoiler. Jay won't come on here because Jay doesn't want to be held accountable for a lot of his awful and useless rhetoric and nonsensical rhetoric. He doesn't like to be held accountable for anything. So of course he's not going to take me up on my challenge because he knows that I'll cook him. Basically, I'll cook him as well, if not better, than most of the crank or meth that used to smoke when he was giving his ass up for it so many years ago. Again, Jay, if you want to come on here, come on board. I'm more happy to debate you. And if anyone has a problem with my characterizations, any of the minions on, Jay's little entourage, my phone number. You can call me. I'll cook you too, because I want all the smoke. All right. And clearly, so does Jay Lassiter. But again, folks, when we think about who does a poor job representing themselves online, especially as a journalist, look no further, ladies and gentlemen, than Jay Lassiter. And that's our show for this week, folks. Once again, I do want to thank Jeanette Hoffman, the amazing Republican strategist. As we all know, she is just absolutely just a wealth of information. And so you can check out her episode here on the program after we go off the air. Folks, all I can say is sharing is caring here on the podcast. Always remember to like Jersey First on Facebook. And of course, make sure you follow them on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe also on YouTube and make sure you download Jersey First from wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Spotify or SoundCloud, and take Jersey First TV with you wherever you go. Once again, folks, I can't say enough about my amazing tag team partners and really the Jersey First team. Elizabeth Nader, the host of the Nader Narrative on Thursday nights, and of course also AJ Malilo and Simon Rambolo, the hosts of Bridging the Gap. Outstanding content. New episodes air every Thursday on Jersey First TV. And of course, you can check out Real Talk every Monday night live at 6 p.m. Eastern time right here, of course, on Jersey First TV and also on the Jersey First YouTube page. Folks, before I let you go, again, as a reminder, in case you missed it last week, shout out to all of you. Thank you to my loyal viewing audience. Amazing traffic for the month of February. And while we have journalists, as we know, that think that they do good programming, well, not like this. And this is all organic traffic. Nothing's boosted. Nothing's paid for. Nothing's sponsored. All organic traffic. And of course, I owe it to all of you at home who tune in every single Monday night and also who share the replays. Because again, we're talking about 2,000, 3,000, even 4,000 views every single week. And again, without you, my loyal viewing audience, it's just, this show would not be possible. And again, for a lot of you out there, the little Mickey Mouse journalists who don't have the best of traffic, and I know you try, and I know you work really hard. So you know what? Good for you. For a lot of you with your 100 views, 200 views, folks, some people try to be great. Some people wake up, oh my God, how can I be great? And some people are just great. I think you should know the difference. Once again, thank you to everybody who tunes in to Jersey First TV and also here on Real Talk. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk. We're here with Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino, Vida Latino Spirit online magazine, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, and without a doubt, the people's choice and the people's voice. It's me, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, folks. Once again, happy birthday to my illustrious father, Fernando Uribe Sr. Shout out to all the women during Women's History Month. Folks, take care of yourselves. Please party responsibly. And I'll see you next week here. And as always, thank you so much for watching.